Hello guys, back with another election prediction video. This time it's my 2022 Senate map as of February 2022. So let's get to ranking these states. So these are all the safe Democratic ones: New York, Connecticut, Vermont. Maryland was actually possibly going to be competitive if Larry Hogan actually decided to run. But as of today, he has said he is not going to be running for the Senate seat. So it's going to easily be a Democratic victory, just solidly Democratic. Same with Illinois too. So let's get right into these safe Republican states. These are not going to be competitive at all. Missouri has the potential to go into likely, but I highly doubt it. Even with Eric Riddens, who resigned as governor here because of a scandal, I think he would even win by a safe Republican margin just because of their huge advantage. And in midterm years, the opposition party always gains or always does pretty decent against the party in power. So I don't really expect that state to be competitive. Same with Iowa too. Chuck Grassley is a very strong incumbent. Even though he's like 88 years old, 89, he'll still probably win re-election by over 20%, maybe even by over 30, but I'm going to say 20. Alaska, the top two candidates are most likely going to be Republicans because it's ranked choice voting. It doesn't really matter which Republican wins. It's probably going to be safe Republican no matter what. Lisa Murkowski probably has a slight advantage, though. So, I think that's the whole Senate battleground. So let's get into the swing states. Colorado, kind of expect to go around a likely margin here. I think Michael Bennet will probably easily win re-election here. I don't really, unless Cory Gardner runs, I could see it going to lean, and maybe the Republicans have a shot there, but I don't really expect the Republicans to have that strong of a candidate running in Colorado. Should probably focus elsewhere. So the state of Ohio, even though Tim Ryan's running and he's a very strong Democratic candidate, it's Ohio. It's a state Trump won by over 8 points. And maybe Tim Ryan could get lucky with a really bad Republican candidate shifted to lean, but as of right now, I'm going to say it's going to be a likely margin for Republicans. Florida. I was debating about making it just safe red, but I do think Val Demings could still bring it down to likely against Marco Rubio. Even though he's a very strong candidate, I think he'll probably win by around 8 to 9 points. That's what the polling is suggesting anyway. He's probably going to win by around that margin. The state of New Hampshire, currently Maggie Hassan is running for re-election here, and there's not really any good Republican candidates at all currently in this election. I really don't think they're going to get even close to getting it to tilt. It's possible it could even go to likely range, honestly, in the future, but I'm going to put it as lean for now because the opposition party has an automatic advantage in midterm elections. The state of Wisconsin, even though Ron Johnson's highly controversial, I think he's probably still going to win re-election by around a 2 point margin just because, like, I'm not really sure the Democrats have any decent candidates to run in Wisconsin. Plus, Ron Johnson usually always starts out behind and then he just catches up near the end no matter what. He's just very hard to beat. Even Russ Feingold couldn't beat him in 2016. He lost by a very large margin, and he was actually a really good candidate. So let's to the next state. North Carolina, I'm shifting from lean to likely because the Republican advantage in the midterms is expanding. They're leading the generic ballot right now by like 2 to 3%. Plus, North Carolina is a lean red state, and it's probably going to shift to likely, even with Cherry Beasley as the Democratic candidate here. Really, even though she's a really good candidate, I just think the Republican advantage going in the midterms is not even going to matter what Republican they run here. It's probably going to be a likely margin no matter what. Arizona is going to be a hotly contested Senate race. I think it'll come down to the wire here, and I think the Republicans have a very, very narrow advantage against Mark Kelly. But he's a very tough senator, and I think he might have a chance of holding this seat. So keep in mind which Republican wins that primary there. They could be a really fringe, wacko candidate, which might make the Democrats be able to defend this Senate seat here. The state of Nevada, I'm actually changing from instead of tilt red to tilt Democratic because currently, based on the polling, Catherine Cortez Masto is narrowly leading the Republicans here, just based on a overall neutral poll. But she's only at 44% to the Republicans 36. There's a lot of undecideds to go here, which is why I'm only putting as tilt instead of light, like lean. I'm expecting undecideds to break down like slightly Republican, 55-45, which makes me put this as a tilt seat. But currently, the Republicans are not doing as well as they would hope in the state of Nevada, and it's always usually most of the time it's a narrow Democratic win here. So it's probably going to be history repeating itself again. So the next two Senate seats. Georgia, I've seen recent polling, and Herschel Walker actually has a super narrow lead against Raphael Warnock. And even though he's such an awful candidate, sometimes just with a national environment being so against Biden, it may not matter what candidate they run in Georgia. Even though it's getting more Democratic by the month, I think it's going to come down the wire here. And so far, Herschel Walker, even though he's a lunatic, he has a slight advantage in the state of Georgia currently. However, there's one thing to keep in mind here. Raphael Warnock's war chest of fundraising, he has nearly $20 million here. I'm sure he's going to, when he starts spending that money, he could shift to even tilt Democratic. So he really has a shot at holding a seat. So don't write this off yet. But I'm going to say it's a narrow GOP advantage currently based on what polling I've seen, which shows like a 2-point to 1-point lead for Walker. So now you go down to the state of Pennsylvania. Currently, John Fetterman's leading in the Democratic primary, which is honestly very good for this state because he's the one Democrat I believe that could actually flip this Senate seat just based on how much he won on like the ticket with Tom Wolf as the lieutenant governor. He won by a pretty sufficient margin. Plus, he's just the right type of Democrat to win here. He leans to like Bernie Sanders style on economic issues, which really appeals to Rust Belt voters, especially. Even in the back in like presidential election polling, Sanders always did a bit better than Biden in the Rust Belt here, and John Fetterman's that type of Sanders style candidate. And I feel like he's the right type of Democrat to win this state. I mean, if Connor Lamb ran, then you could say it'll be probably a tilt Republican, just because I'm not really sure running like someone who's kind of has connection to big banks is a really good idea because they're probably going to hit on them in the general election. Plus, the Republicans don't really have any good candidates to run in Pennsylvania. They have Dr. Oz, who's just a joke, and he's leading the primary, so they're just shooting themselves in the foot with that candidate. And then their other top candidate is a banking guy who it's just establishment politicians here on the Republican side and wackos. Like, we have an anti-establishment candidate, John Fetterman, and he's probably going to carry this state currently by a tilt Democratic margin. So keep an eye on it, but this is what I think the Senate map's going to be in 2022 currently. Let me know what you think of this video in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.